All right, we are now joined by Matt Kenseth, driver of the number 20 Home Depot Husky Toyota. Matt, you won this race in 2004, and you have 7 straight top 10s in the Sprint All-Star race. So let's do this.
That's just because there's not many cars in it. So we have 7 straight top 10s.
So how do you feel about your outlook heading into this weekend?
Well, I mean, everybody, I think, looks forward to the All-Star race for a variety of reasons. I mean, it's always an honor to be in it because it means you had a good season last year. I always enjoy running it because we don't get any night practice for the 600, and I always feel like the 600 is one of the biggest races of the year. So you kind of get an idea when the All-Star race gets over, what the track will more than likely be like when the race is getting over at the 600. So I always think that's important to, get a feel for that and, get an idea where the track and the car and the tires are going to go, things like that. And, it's a short race. Just race hard for whatever the format is every lap and, see how it turns out.
All right, we'll open up for some questions. You guys raise your hand. We'll get a wireless mic to you. Just state your name and affiliation. We'll start right back there with Jeff.
Hey Matt, Jeff Ross, ESPN. This race is not a points-paying race, as you know, but can you see this as a jump start to wins coming up in the season? Is this kind of how you look at this?
Well, I mean, I've never been in a race I didn't want to win. So, I mean, you go out every week, kind of with the same goals to try to win. It's just a different format. It's a shorter race, when the cautions are coming, or at least the scheduled ones. So you set up your car a little bit different, and you race a little different than you'd race, for a 4.5 or 5 hour race like you have next weekend. But other than that, I don't really change the approach much. I mean, you go out and run hard, and yeah, if you can get a win, maybe in a way you feel a little bit better about, the rest of the season, but it's still just one night, and you still got to perform each and every week, and you still got to, actually get that win. I mean, winning a qualifying race at Daytona this year was great, but it didn't give us credit for a win, and we didn't win the 500. So, I mean, you never know what's going to happen every weekend, every event, every race, is a little different and has its own challenges.
Bob Hocker, Sporting News. With Carl Edwards being a free agent, there's a lot of speculation he might be going to Gibbs. How would you feel about having him back as your teammate?
Man, that's not really my department. I don't know. I haven't really put any thought into that. I've been more thinking about trying to figure out how we get back to victory lane and like my other teammates, so we're qualified for the chase or have a better chance of being qualified for the chase and just get back to form, running like we were last year. So I try to stay pretty hard away from all the rumors.
We'll go to Jeff.
Jeff Gluck from USA Today. Jimmy Johnson hasn't won all year, and he hasn't even won since last October, which is a long drought for him.
That's terrible.
Is he suddenly in the ranks of the normal, or should anybody not be worried about him?
Yeah, he's probably washed up. I think he's done. Nah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to win races. I mean, everything has to go right. He's had some dominant cars this year a few times and hasn't won. I mean, until you get the win and you bust through and win some races, you always have that little feeling in your stomach like, man, we need to win. But, I'm more worried about us winning right now than him. I don't think anybody has much to worry about him not being the guy to beat when it gets down to it at the end of the year again, like they usually are every year. So, like I say, it's hard to win races. You got to get things lined up. Everything's got to go right, besides just having a fast car. So obviously they have one of the better cars each and every week. So I'm pretty confident they'll probably win some races.
David Caravella, NASCAR.com. Matt, we all know the history of this event and, the pass in the grass and Davey and Kyle and all that kind of stuff. And, there's so much made of the no-holds-barred seemingly nature of this and racing for $1 million. Do you really race this any differently than you would any other event?
Well, not really. you know, a little bit, but not when it comes down to the end and to the win. I mean, in every segment, you know, you know, if it's in the 600 and there's 3 hours to go and there's somebody that's faster than you, you're going to give him some room and probably let him go on his way and get racing him back, where in this race, everybody races each other, you know, as hard as they can for every spot, the whole race. So that's a little different. But when you get down to the end, or like our typical races, you know, when you get down and get ready for that last pit stop, you never give anybody a spot. Usually everybody's racing, you know, even if you're holding somebody up real bad. So, I mean, that part might change a little bit, but other than that, it's about the same. I mean, it's just, you know, a lot of times the leader gets out there on that short 10-lapper, and it's just hard for anybody to get to him. I mean, it's just a kind of this type of racing. You know, I think there's other tracks where it wouldn't be that way. You know, if you get to some shorter tracks and, you know, watch the last Richmond race, or, you know, even Bristol is different speed as the lanes are now. Martinsville, some of those tracks, I think certainly you would have a lot more potential for contact and conflicts conflicts after the races, those type of things, you know, at a track where you're doing 190 or 200 and aerodynamics and everything going on, you know, it's a little less likely for that type of thing to happen. Yep.
We'll go to Tom.
Hey, Matt, Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. Do you see anybody as a clear favorite in the race for Saturday night, and what do you think is going to determine it at the end?
I could probably answer that better after practice, you know, kind of see how everybody's running. It's kind of hard right now. We all did that test in December, but, you know, without any testing, you know, an hour and a half of practice, and nobody's been on a track yet, it's hard for me to pick out a favorite besides the obvious guys that you could pick out, you know, before practice. But I think guys who've been running good at all the mile and a halves this year, you know, are probably the ones to look at.
On the back.
Aaron Burns, National Speed Sport News. Matt, you got your first points win here at Charlotte in 2000. Can you talk a little bit about what that meant to you, and has that kind of made Charlotte one of your favorite tracks?
Yeah, I mean, I made my first nationwide start here as well, so I mean, I probably have more, like most of us, have more miles and laps here than probably any other track on the circuit. You know, so I've always really enjoyed it, especially before the levigation and then the repave. You know, it always had a lot of character. It was real slick, a lot of bumps. And it's getting back to starting to be like that again right now. But I've always really enjoyed the track. It's a fun track. We've had some good races here. Had some bad ones as well, but it's one of my favorites. I like it.
We'll go to Viv, Alan, and then Dustin.
Viv Bernstein, New York Times. Has Joey Logano moved into that short list of top contenders this year?
Top contenders for the championship? Well, I mean, obviously it's really, really competitive. It's pretty tough for me to sit here in May and pick out a contender for, you know, who's going to be the contenders in September and October and November. You know, but certainly I think since the whole shuffle happened, I think all three of us that kind of affected have all ran better, you know, and you don't see that happen very often. So, you know, I'm really happy for Joey. He's had a lot of success. I'm sure it was hard going through what he did for those couple of years and wondering whether he's going to be there or not be there. And he certainly handled it like he's much older than what he is, handled it better than I think almost anybody in the garage could have handled it, and went over there and has been winning races and running better than he's ever run. So I've been real happy to see that, happy for him, and certainly I think he's been a contender, you know, more weeks than not for sure.
Alan Cavana, NASCAR.com. Matt, you had a great year last year, first year with Gibbs. Kevin's off to a good start after moving over to SHR. What is it about a driver moving to a different team that kind of invigorate something or change their direction?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's as simple as just moving to another team. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts there and a lot of factors. You know, certainly for me, I felt good about it. I felt like it was the right thing at the right time, the right place. You know, right crew chief. You know, just everything was right. You know, and I think Kevin, you know, is in that same spot. I mean, Rodney's you know, really talented crew chief. He's got good equipment over there. I mean, everything seems to be clicking for him really good. I know that they've had some mechanical issues and such, but they've been, you know, one of the fastest cars every single week they've been to the racetrack. So that's fun while it lasts for sure. You want to keep that going as long as you can for sure. But like I said, I don't think it's as simple as just switching teams. But I think certainly when you do that, and he was in a situation very similar to mine, really, where we've both been in the same organization our whole career and for a long time. And I think when you make that switch, it's not like you try harder or you're more excited or anything like that, but certainly it's different, and you're putting in more time, learning everybody, learning the system, it probably, I don't know if you're more excited, but it's certainly different, and you're putting a lot of work into it because you are trying to get used to that system and get to know everybody and that type of thing. So it's exciting.
Go to Dustin, Lee, and then John.
Dustin Long, MRN.com. Matt, since 2009, you've had at least a victory at this point every season but one. How challenging is it in the sense of not getting impatient at this point? I mean, obviously, there's still a long way to go, but how do you not get impatient because you've been used to getting that win and understanding that I think typically when things aren't going well, it's not like they change overnight. It's a process. How do you avoid being impatient? How does your team avoid? Because there's a level of history of expectation. Hey, 10 races in, we've got to win.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. I don't think things are going bad. I think we need to be running, a little bit better. But last week was a struggle. But before that, I felt like we were making some progress on it. We were certainly not where we were last year, leading all the laps and kind of running like the 4 cars running right now. But for some reason, it seems like most of my wins have come early in the season for some reason, although last year they were spread out pretty good. So, I don't know. You can't force it. You do the best you can every week and try to get the best result you can get every week. And, you hope that's good enough to get a win. And if it's not, you finish as high as you can and move on to the next week. So it's something you can't really force. I mean, I think when you start thinking about it too much and worrying about it too much and changing what you're doing, that's usually when you have more troubles.
Also, just quickly, we saw Mark Martin in the garage and actually saw him with a breakfast sandwich, a high-calorie breakfast sandwich. Have you ever seen him eat and a hot dog? Have you ever seen him eat anything bad? And what's it like to see him back at the track?
I haven't seen him yet. He was probably just trying to get some press. I don't know, or he just got done working out for like 6 hours straight or something. I don't know. Or maybe he was bringing it to a friend. Was he actually eating it? Oh. I don't know what to tell you on that one.
Lee?
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. You've been in race shops where there have been 5 drivers, 4 drivers, and now 3 drivers. Does Joe Gibbs Racing have the structure to support a 4th team? Do you feel that that would complement the existing 3 drivers, or just would it pull what you guys have already too thin?
I'm the wrong guy to ask almost all of those questions. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can't really speak to the, first of all, I didn't know they were doing a 4th team, and I don't know whether they're ready for that or not. I think that they were one of the last ones to go to 3. I've been on both sides of it. Certainly, I think if you get the right people in place and a cohesive group and stuff, and I'm sure there's advantages to it as far as the business and advantages or disadvantages. I don't really know because I don't really run the business, So, but yeah, I mean, I've at Roush for a while after the Gillette cars moved over and all that stuff. I mean, we had 8 for a long time, and I can tell you for sure that that's too many to be competitive. 8 is definitely too many. I don't know where it gets to be too much or not enough, but I think there's different theories on it. I mean, certainly, Hendrick, all their cars run really good, and the Stewart Haas stuff's aligned pretty closely, and all of them are running really good right now as well. I don't know. I mean, I think when they made the rule to 4 cars, the environment, for the car owners and sponsors in the garage and stuff was much different than it is today. So I don't really feel like I wouldn't think NASCAR's quite as concerned about it today as they were then. But yeah, certainly there's only, I don't know, 4 or 5 owners that pretty much control the whole sport. You know, whether it's engines, cars, technology, whatever it may be. So is that good or bad? I don't know.
John?
I'm at John Householder, NASCAR Productions. As a driver, how is this track different, or how does it compare to other mile-and-a-half tracks that you head to throughout the season?
Yeah, I mean, this track has always been very sensitive to the sun, you know, and the weather when it cools down as far as grip level. It's a really narrow track for a mile and a half, you know, and the surface has always been pretty good. It's never been very abrasive for whatever reason. It gets slick, but it's not really abrasive. So it's definitely different. You know, I know everybody loops them together because they're about the same speed and aerodynamics and all that kind of stuff. But really all the tracks are pretty unique, and you know, there's not really another one that's exactly like this.
Mike?
Mike Solarte, Time Warner Cable News here in Camera Row.
Oh.
Apologize if you addressed this before I got in.
It was him talking at first. Nothing, go ahead.
I apologize if you addressed this earlier, but you talked about the final 10 laps here in this All-Star race, and then alluded to you might not have these problems if they raced at a shorter track. Would you be in favor of moving the All-Star race to a Bristol or Richmond or some other place to improve the racing, or would you be more inclined to keep it here so you get a chance to stay home for 2 straight weeks?
Here's what my idea for the All-Star race has always been. This might not be popular, but I thought of this a couple of years ago. I think the All-Star race should move every year, and I think it should go to a track that we don't currently race at, but is equipped to have a NASCAR race. So I think it should go to Iowa and Milwaukee and St. Louis and Pikes Peak and maybe even Memphis. You know, you got to have enough grandstands, but I think it should move around and go to tracks like that. I think that would be great for all those markets that don't have a NASCAR race. I think you'd sell them out, whether that's 30 or 40,000 people, whatever that is. I think the racing would be good. It's not a points race, so I think that would expose a lot of fans to our product live that don't get to see it now. I think it'd be fun.
We'll go to Ryan and then Lewis.
Ryan McGee,
See,
ESPN.
nobody liked that idea. You shouldn't ask that question.
Ryan McGee, ESPN. We talk a lot with the All-Star race about, you know, all the money and letting it hang out there and all that stuff. But how far is a driver, or are you willing to actually go to win the race? Is it really no holds barred like we all say?
You know, I think it's about the same as every other week. I mean, I think if you have a chance to win that race and you're right down there to the end, you're going to do everything you can to try to win that race. I mean, if you, you know, but if you wreck, you're not going to win. So, I mean, I think you do whatever you can to try to win. I think like we do every weekend. It's just every week has different circumstances. You know, some of the races, you know, end real close and some don't. That's just the way racing is. Somebody might have a dominant car and get away, no matter what track we're at. And other tracks like Richmond, we had the last restart and I didn't have the best car, and I was holding on as much as I could to try to stay in front of everybody for the win, and the guys behind you are trying to move you out of the way and do everything they can to win. So I don't think it really changes that much every week. I think everybody's going for it.
Louis Frank of Reuters, to your left, to your right, up front. There you go.
That's my left, just so
Yes,
you know.
Your other left.
All right.
Your other, thank you. This race runs in segments, you know, unlike typical races. So do you war game this over the week, or you let Jason do all the hard work?
We talked about it a little bit, but basically I let him do all the hard work, just like always. I just drive. I got the good job.
Steve?
Steve Richards with PRN. You won this race 10 years ago. I would think it's kind of like found money because you didn't know you were going to win it. You know, it's not kind of counted in. What did you do with the money? Do you remember?
You never know you're going to win any race.
Well, that's true, but you do get paid.
Yeah.
So what did you do?
I don't know.
You don't remember what you did with your winnings? Socked it away?
Probably some of it.
Didn't know if there's anything specific.
No, there wasn't.
Okay.
Any more questions for Matt?
Paid for college funds.
Any more questions? All right, Matt, we appreciate the time and good luck this weekend.